Hey friends, welcome to my channel. For those of you that are new here, my name is Katelyn and I like to film eyeshadow palette, ranking, and review videos, as well as the occasional other content sprinkled in. So if you like indie makeup, if you like eyeshadow palettes, if you like me, I highly recommend that you hit that subscribe button because I post 2 videos every single week. And for those of you that are not new here, my face is happy that you are seeing it again. And I do need to address the elephant in the room in that I look insane. Today is a dry shampoo day. I have bangs. I'm not gonna like do my hair for my bangs to be in my eyes and then get comments complaining that my bangs were in my eyes and you couldn't see me do the eyeshadow look that I'm trying to do today. So that's why we look this way. And I also really need to paint my nails. Like that's probably today's goal, is to paint my nails. So anyways, that was not the whole elephant in the room. There is another elephant in the room that we'll be discussing here shortly. But as you can see by the title, we're doing a chatty get ready with me, discussing the Ensley Rain Cosmetics Cold Moon palette. While I'm testing it out, I will be discussing the criticisms, however you want to call them, of the brand that have been popping up on social media recently. I feel like the brand did a post addressing one of them, and then it sort of opened a whole can of worms, and now it's everywhere. And I didn't feel comfortable utilizing this palette, reviewing this palette on my channel without addressing it. So that's why I wanted to do my first impressions in this way. So anyways, that being said, I do have an affiliate code with the brand. It is KATELYNHOUSE, I think. I'll put it on the screen. Anyways, it saves 10%. I'm going to talk about the affiliate code a little bit more, but just so that I don't forget to mention it, I figured let's just get it out of the way. So let's go ahead and get on into it. So I did order this palette at launch. Something that I always like to do in my first impressions videos is talk through some of the facts about the palette. So this palette is both vegan and cruelty free. We have a 12-month open container. There is both mica and talc in the ingredients, and neither on their website or on their packaging can I find where their shadows are made. I feel like I looked for a FAQ. I might have not checked that. Editing me here to say I did not check for an FAQ, because they do have an FAQ page on their site, and the first question is where are the shadows made, and the brand says that they're made at a third-party manufacturer that's located in China. So that's where their shadows are made. Now it's time to do my makeup. So before I get into talking about the different critiques and everything, I figured it would make sense to just first talk about the experience of the palette, and then we'll talk about the different critiques and then circle back at the end to my first impressions and everything like that. So the palette itself, before any code, is $72.22, I believe, something like that. And then you can use a discount code, which I think brings it down to around $60-ish. Now, I had store credit, so I paid for the palette itself $2.22 because I had $70 in store credit. I had a little bit more, but I didn't know how it would work if the store credit was, because you get your store credit in like a code, and I didn't know if I had more store credit, like does it save like a gift card? I was just like nervous, so I was like whatever. So I paid the $2.22 for the palette because you can't stack a discount code on top of the store credit code. So you have to pay the full price of the palette. And then the shipping was $11 something, which I will be honest, at first, because I cannot get this cap on to save my life. I keep this year I'm keeping a spreadsheet, and let me know if any of you would be interested in seeing a live of my, and I can share my screen and we can look at my makeup spreadsheet that I'm creating, or have created and am updating because I'm a loser. Anywho, just kidding. If you love spreadsheets, we're not losers. We're really cool people. I really love a good spreadsheet. So I have the spreadsheet and I'm keeping track of various things so that when I do palette paloozas and rankings this year, I can be super thorough, super detailed. That's my goal. I want to be more intentional in the makeup that I do review, and when I review it, I want to review it I don't want there to be any questions. I want you to know everything you can know after, like, once I've finished a review of something. I keep, like, trying to do these is always so hard for me. Anyway, so long story short, I keep track of everything. In my notes, I put, like, my experience, just my comments as they come up, and I was mad about that $11 shipping, because to me, on a $70 item, $11 shipping, like, come on, that's like, and I don't know if shipping prices have increased, because I just placed an order with Ensley that also had expensive shipping, so I don't know, but some of these shipping costs, I'm like, what is happening? And then I did a little test run where if you went to over $100, like, does it turn into free shipping? It does not. So I don't know if they have something over 100 that turns into free shipping. I'm not sure, but I just thought that's crazy to me that if you're, I don't know, in my mind, I think I just have like if you're spending $100, you should get free shipping. Like, that's just built in my brain, but I don't understand shipping costs either, so I will own that. But yeah, so that was my initial perspective. Now I have calmed down since spending my $11 on shipping, and the reason why is because this palette was shipped in in foam wrapping, or bubble wrap wrapping, inside of a box, placed in foam inside of a bigger box. So, you know, from a sustainability perspective, you're like, it's a lot of packaging for one item, but I think that's a really good way to make sure these shadows don't break and bad things don't happen. And not the outer box, but the box inside the box that this was in matched this packaging. So I do feel like there was purpose. There was, like, I could see why there's maybe an extra cost. There's an extra cost to the shipping. So anyways, so that made me go, okay, all right. $11 isn't that bad. And then I forgot what else I was gonna say. I think that was it related to the shipping. The packaging is cardboard packaging. You do not have a mirror, but you do have magnetic pans, and they are square pans. I think this is the same setup and size to the Harvest Moon. Yeah, they're the same size exactly, and they both have the square magnetic pans and no mirror, and then they both have these fairies on the cover. So I think that's everything palette related. Oh, I just like flashed you the inside and then kept it moving. This is the inside of the palette, in case you haven't seen it. It's very pretty. There's a few different formulas. I did write that down on my spreadsheet, but I don't have my spreadsheet in front of me. So I know that there's, I'm just gonna pull it up again. 10 mattes in the palette, 11 specialty shimmers, which within specialty shimmers, they say that there are 4 multi-dimensional holochromes, 1 multi-chrome, 3 duochromes, and 2 ultra sparkly shimmers, and 1 classic satin shimmer. And it's funny because I did my swatches yesterday. I'll just put a picture of them right here. I did my swatches. The satiny shimmer is definitely, by other brand standards, just a normal shimmer, just to clarify. And I remember when I swatched it, I was like, oh, interesting. Like, that's a very subtle shimmer for them, but it's not a subtle shimmer. So I didn't realize they were classifying it as a satin. So now I get it. It's definitely slightly more than what is traditionally known as a satin. And I am glad I just went ahead and pulled the site back up, because this palette is not currently available. It is on pre-order, and I think the site, I already closed it. I think the site said something about not being available till March, but it's an 8 to 10 week pre-order. So if you were interested in picking it up, there you go. Now let's get into the tea, the look, just everything. I feel like I've sufficiently given you way too much information that I'm sure most of you don't care about, but some people do. So I'm just gonna keep giving it. And I really have no idea what I want to do for this look, so that's also good. So I'm gonna start with this shade. I think it's Mauha? It's M-A-U-J-A. Looks to be a very pale gray green type of thing. Okay, so I want to just kind of chat through the criticisms I've seen, and I'll share what they are, what I've seen online, what I've seen people say, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts, my 2 cents on them. And you can take my 2 cents with a grain of salt, since you're like, okay, you're an affiliate and you mentioned your code, you know, like that's fine. You know, you can just do whatever you want. But I did just want to present all the information. Like I said, I felt uncomfy doing a video with this palette without sort of addressing that. So, first up, affiliates not getting paid. I figured, let's just start here, because this might help you decide if you want to, what you want to do with my information. I don't get paid by my affiliate code yet. They have a setup where you have to, and I don't know if I'm allowed to share that. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's a secret. I think it's on their affiliate program. I think it's shown somewhere. So I don't think it is a secret. So if you're really curious, I bet you could go figure it out. I don't know. Anyways, you have to sell a certain threshold of product, like so amount, for them to pay you. Otherwise, you only can cash out as store credit. I didn't know that until recently, but somebody had told me, like, no, you can get paid as an affiliate. And so I went to the brand and they had explained it to me. Super nice. They got back to me really quickly too. So no issues there. I think people are upset about that because they want to use their I think there's some affiliation stuff people are wary on and they don't want to use codes, and some people like using codes, like supporting their favorite creators, so they're totally fine. Both of those shades were really light, by the way. I'm trying to get it to be a little bit more green. And I didn't say what I was doing, but I had winter solstice, so I think I'm gonna mix. I think these all go more gray. I was hoping for a little bit more of a green appearance, but maybe I'll just try building winter solstice up. I probably didn't need that mauve shade. Anyways, so I get where people are wanting to know that their money, if they're using the code, that it is going to support the creator. And it does, like I said, once your creator hits a certain threshold of selling, which I'm actually pretty close to, so I'm not, whatever. I actually wasn't even mad about it before because these palettes are so expensive that I've gotten each one, and I don't mean this to sound like braggy or anything. This is just that I just want to be real honest. I've gotten Harvest Moon. I think Harvest Moon was at least half off, if not more, because I had store credit, like half off in my brain. Like I paid, not full price. And then this one I paid $2 for. So it's almost like I've been able to use the commissions that I have from each palette to then buy the next one to share with you all, which honestly I don't mind, because I think it's a nice way for people to know, oh hey, she's truly putting this money back into the brand. Now, this is also not my full-time job. So if you have affiliates this is their full-time job, totally could see where that's not vibing for them. So I never had an issue not getting paid. I felt like it was fine that the brand explained whatever to me. It is what it is. Maybe it helps too that because I'm kind of close, so that I'm like, okay, well, I only have to wait, a little bit longer. I should hit it, unless they hate this video and then they just take me off. I don't know. But hopefully this stays. I mean, I think I'm being respectful, but hopefully this doesn't offend anybody. Anywho. So that's kind of like, I just wanted to share that for full transparency. That's where we're at. Now, I just said, I am an affiliate. I do. So also, wait, let me backtrack for a second. Any of you that have used my code, thank you so much. You have helped me be able to continue to get palettes from them. And I don't know where that cut me off. Just as a side note, I film on my phone, and I have certain, I have to take baby aspirin with my pregnancy because I had COVID, and I have alarms set so that I don't forget it, and that's what keeps interrupting my video. So if you're curious why there's been so many times in recent videos where I've gone, I don't know where that cut me off, it's that. So anyways, back to whatever we were talking about. I think I'm gonna go in with Winter Rose, but what I was saying was, thank you to those of you that have used my code. I did want to take that moment to shout you all out because it is truly going back into my channel because I only get store credits. So I'm able to put it back into my channel, get the palettes, continue to test them out for you, share my thoughts, all that. So I am eternally grateful for it. I don't want that to come across like I'm not. And I hope that what's coming across right now is that I am just sharing the criticisms that people have and what my thoughts are on them from my perspective as an affiliate, my experience, etc. So that's the best I can do. Next up, and this is the topic that the brand actually had posted their Instagram post about. So if you haven't seen it, I think it's pretty easy to find on their Instagram page if you're curious to go look at it. But essentially what they were addressing were concerns about private labeling. And that might be because they don't list where it's from. I'm not sure. But I think the private labeling claim came from maybe their older palettes. I don't know. I don't remember seeing the claims about private labeling until they had posted about it. I've seen other indie brands have that, but I never saw anybody say that about them. So I thought that was interesting. But anyways, so they posted about the fact that they used to do private labeling when they were a smaller brand. And then they, have hand pressed their singles, but in the palettes and the bigger items, they were using private labeling. And then as they started to grow, they worked with a lab to create their own formulas and things like that. And they no longer are consider private label. But so let me just say, and I would be curious to learn from anybody in the comments, but let me just say, I was under the impression that private labeling was different than white labeling. And white labeling is when a brand or like a lab or whatever creates something and somebody just slaps their packaging on it and then puts it out. Like, that was my understanding, that that's white labeling. And then private labeling can mean that you work with a brand and like create color stories, things like that, but you maybe have less of a say over the formula. I don't know. Like, that's the part where I'm tripped up, because I also feel like I've seen some people say that private labeling just in general means that you use another lab, but I feel like most makeup brands use a different lab, and it's only like ColourPop is the only one I can think of that has an in-house lab. So whatever. We're going into, I was going to do a purple, but I'm kind of feeling this green pinky look right now. So I think what I want to do is Orithia, this one right here. Anyways, so curious to hear from you in the comments. I do feel like I have done quite a bit of research on like what is private labeling, what is white labeling, what is the difference. I've watched a lot of videos on it and everybody says something different. So I don't know. I don't know if there's a general consensus or what, but anyways, let me know what you know in the comments. Anywho, point is, the brand says their formula is developed with a lab, and it's a formula that they've worked on with the lab in, a collaboration of that. So, not private label is what the brand is essentially saying currently. I don't know when that change would have happened. I don't know if that was clear in the post. I felt like it just was like from older, like they just said that previous launches were that, and or historically the brand had done that, but not recently. I don't know. So I don't know. I don't know everything. But I will say that since I started trying the brand in, it was the beginning of last year, actually, 2023, when I got my Midwinter Dream palette, I felt like they had good quality mattes and shimmers, and I didn't feel like it felt exactly the same as any other brand at that time. They definitely had a type of shimmer formula that was super smooth, but still really special and sparkly, that I felt like I hadn't had in other palettes before. So I never had any sort of, thought to the private labeling piece prior to seeing that post. And like I said, I didn't see people saying it online, but I try not to go on makeup Reddit just because It's a very negative place. But I know people feel very particular about purchasing private labeled makeup. So, you know, I did want to address it, even if it's not something that's ever been a concern or thought or whatever to me. I do, you know, I get everybody's got to make their choices on how they spend their money. So if your line in the sand is that you're not buying anything private labeled, then that's fair. Or if it's because of the price tag associated with this and it being private labeled, the brand's saying they're not. So there you go. Anyways, this is the shade Garnet. So next, I would like to talk about the AI art on the packaging, because I feel like that is actually the big thing that everybody's talking about. And the brand has said they will come out with a post. At the time of me filming this, they had not yet, but they did say they were going to address the AI art stuff in a post. So I don't know if by the time this video goes up, they'll have done it or what. You know, if I see it while I'm editing, I will absolutely add a little clip in. Yeah. So anyways, at the time of filming this, they have not said anything yet, but let's talk about it. So the brand has confirmed. So I'm going to say, I've seen the brand confirm that on this palette in particular, they did use an AI company, like an AI art company. I don't know what they're called. Anyways, they contracted with a company that uses AI to generate the artwork for this palette. That's basically what I saw. I don't know if they have in other comments or whatever confirmed that for other palettes. I've seen, I don't know if it's all the way back to Midwinter Dream, but at least back to Flower Moon, I have seen people say it looks like AI art. So I don't know if they've confirmed that that's something that they've always done, or if it's on every palette, or if it's on some palettes. I don't know. They don't typically mention an artist that they work with, at least not that I've seen. So do with that information what you want. But anyways, so as far as how long this has been happening, whatever, I don't know. That being said, I think there's a lot of people who feel very strongly about the AI art issue, and there's a lot of people who are like, technology is the future, get over it type of thing. And I do want to highlight why I think it's why it is so important to some people, because I just think some of us are uneducated on why it is. And I say some of us because I was one of those people too. I think there's, you know, I think it's a really nuanced conversation. I don't think it's, for me at least, it's not as black and white. For some people it might be, and that's okay. We can have different opinions. So with AI packaging, sorry, I'm trying to do my makeup and talk at the same time, and it's honestly super difficult. I don't know how Bailey Sarian or Danielle Kirsty or Brittany Vaughn, any of the people I want to do the like true crime and makeup, I don't get how they do that. It is so freaking hard. I'm trying to decide what shade. Before I get into the packaging stuff, I'm like, let me at least figure out what shimmer shade I want to put on the lid, because I really like this crease though. If we're being totally honest, I think this turned out really pretty. These tones work really nicely together. So I think I'm going to go Saturnalia, this one right here. So with AI, here are the things that I know. First off, my understanding is that an AI art, like, you know, search engine or whatever, like when you use the filters even or do anything with AI online, I have seen the argument that you're stealing from artists, because what AI does is it pulls from art that already exists to generate new art. I also think there's, you know, some quality things that people not take issue with, but they're just saying, you know, it's not even worth it because it doesn't produce a high quality product. So there's that too. But overall, the argument I've seen is that is one, that it's stealing from artists. Two, and I'm going to put up my friend Kelly's comment that she had left on the Ensley Rain post, and she had posted it on her story, so I saw it and asked her if she was cool if I used it. So she had put this comment, and I thought it was a really good, insightful other side to sort of the issue with AI, because I think it presents an interesting, you know, sort of what word am I looking for? It puts an interesting spin on it, I guess, is the best way I can think of explaining it. So what she's saying is, as a small indie brand for makeup, using AI art, you're taking, like, you're not giving your business to another small business, which is, you know, would be an artist. And so you're wanting us to support your small business, but you're not supporting small businesses. It's kind of like the gist, right? So I didn't even think of it that way. And I do think that that is an interesting point. And I'm curious to see when the brand does post their response to the AI art, you know, stuff. I'd be curious to hear what they say. I think a lot of people, like I said, I've seen a lot of people actually be a little bit rude about the AI art. So hopefully in this comment section we can stay respectful, because I think artists should be valued. I also think, you know, brands should, like, smaller brands, smaller companies, we should place value on them and the hard work that they do. So I'm all about it. I don't want to turn this into like a comparing one brand over the other, but one thing I did want to mention with the AI art piece is that Unearthly Cosmetics always shouts out who their artists are that they partner with for their artwork designs. And I feel like every single time you hear somebody talk about, you know, talk about Unearthly or show Unearthly, they go, oh my gosh, look at the packaging. I know I do it. I'm like, this packaging is gorgeous. I actually found, when they did that Halloween collection, I found one of my favorite artists from the fact that Unearthly used them to do their packaging design. And I just think that's really cool. I've actually found a couple of artists. I really like that they do that. I do. It, you know, I think it's really nice. I think I'm going to go in with Keon, the shade right here. It's another like multi-chrome, so that might be a mistake, but I just feel like I want something else. Okay, not Keon, because it has a darker base than I thought it did. Glad I tested that out. So anyway, so what I wanted to, and like I said, I don't want this to be like a brand comparison, what have you, but I did want to mention that because I do value that, and I've never had an issue with Unearthly's packaging. I think I've mentioned a couple of times with the Ensley Rain packaging that I'm like, the design's not my favorite. So I do think where people are critiquing it from saying, you know, like it just doesn't even look as good, you know, I maybe agree with that. And that's okay. Not all packaging has to be for everybody, and that's fine. I'm also just not really a fairy gal. Like, I love reading fantasy books that are about fairies, but just having fairies on my packaging and stuff is just not, it's just not me. So, you know, I didn't mind Flower Moon and Strawberry Moon as much, but I did feel like I do feel like there's a quality difference in the design of the packaging. Not the packaging necessarily itself, but the actual artwork on it. Which makes sense because you have either an artist, like a real human artist working on it, or a computer. So there you go. With that being said, for this particular launch, since this is the one, so I had seen people say it before, but I hadn't seen it confirmed, and I really like the brand's quality and their products, and I didn't want to cancel them, you know, as a brand if it wasn't true, or if it, I don't know. I just was like, I'm going to wait and figure it out. So then the brand announced that. And so when they announced this, when I saw it, it was before this palette, I think, actually had launched, because I remember going, oh, I guess I'm not going to get that one because, you know, I don't really want to spend my money on something that is AI generated. But then I had the store credit, so I was like, okay, I'm going to buy it. And then that's really what prompted this video mainly, because I was like, I don't feel great paying for AI art personally. So I was just, yeah. So anyways, I don't know. I don't know where I'm trying to take this, but yeah, that was just my experience of it. And I just decided that since I had the store credit, I was going to proceed anyway and then do this kind of a video. I had that intention this whole time because I thought, okay, I feel like if I'm going to do this, I have to at least address all of this. So there we go. And I know a lot of people have commented on my other videos whenever I've mentioned packaging as something that I didn't really like. And for some reason it seems like it makes some of you angry. I don't know. It's hard to tell on the internet with how comments come over, but I've had a few people that have tried to say like a few times, like, well, it doesn't matter what's on the outside. It's only the inside. Like, I only care about, and I think that's fine. That's great. I love that for you. If you don't care about the packaging, cool. For me, there is so much makeup out there. So much makeup out there. A lot of it really high quality. And so for me, and this is why my spreadsheet is detailing every single aspect of every part of the experience. If I'm going to narrow my scope on how much makeup I intake this year, every single part of that experience has to be a positive one for me. So I'm not somebody that's going to, just because it looks pretty on the inside, if I don't like the outside, like we're not doing that, because I only have so many palettes I'm letting myself buy this year. So I need to love the whole thing. Again, technically I bought this in 2023 with my store credit. It just didn't get here till now. So so that was why it was excluded from that. But I just wanted to acknowledge that for myself. And then I think a lot of other people, like we want, if we're spending our money, we want to love every piece of it. So I understand if you're somebody who's like, as long as the inside does what I want it to do, I don't care. Cool. But this aspect of it is for those that don't feel the same way as you. Okay, so this is pretty much going to be the eye look. I think it's really pretty, but I am going to do the rest of my makeup. I will come back to show you the lower lash line, since I do have a few more things I want to talk about, but I wanted this to focus the get ready with me part mainly on the doing the eyeshadow, even though you saw me do my skincare, but that's really because I forgot. Anywho, I don't know why I always make this transition so long, because you're just going to sit here for 0.2 seconds and see the next part. So moving on to the lower lash line, but also the next, critique that I've seen people have is, and I think this applies honestly to a lot of MD brands right now, not just Ensley Rain, but shipping times. And, if you're shopping from a smaller brand, I think we just all need to make our peace with longer shipping times. They have less employees to ship things out as quickly, and it is what it is, especially the smaller ones. A lot of times they're just a one-person show until they get big enough that they can hire or contract with a shipping facility or something like that. I don't know how it works. But anyways, I ordered this palette when it launched, which was I think 12/26. And it got here on, what day is that? Yesterday, the 10th. I want to say it took like 11 days, business days, because there was a holiday in there. So I try not to account for that. So I think their site said something about 15 to 21 days for shipping. So I feel like we were within the realm of what was advertised. I didn't feel like it was getting out of hand. I know there's some brands that you shop from where they give you the shipping time frame and then it takes longer than that, and that's frustrating, but I do feel like they're very above board on how long the shipping takes. All of that being said, one thing I want to add to this that I think contributes to people's feelings and, Hawkeyes as far as how shipping times go is pre-orders. I know I hate pre-orders. I feel like most people hate pre-orders. I saw a comment where somebody said a pre-order feels like I'm giving a brand a loan, and having to wait for my stuff. And I think, I think that is what it feels like, especially super long pre-orders. What I think adds to the dismay from a consumer perspective with the pre-orders is what word am I looking for? Is that, and this all makes sense to me, but I'm going to explain why I think from a consumer perspective it's annoying. But brands will send out PR to everybody before they launch the product. And that makes sense. PR is their advertising, so we're all good there. I think we all understand that. What I think irritates people is they send that out, then the product launches, and then it's only available for pre-order. You have no chance of getting it anytime in the near future. It's like a 8 to 10 week pre-order, and it just doesn't really compute why you can send out all this PR. Because some of these brands are sending out kind of a lot, and I'm sure that's expensive, but at the same time, it sort of feels like, it just feels like a lot, and then it feels like nobody's talking about it by the time you get it, and then it's kind of a bummer that you just feel like you're constantly trying to play catch up with the creators that you watch, and all of that. So, you know, I think that contributes to the issue, because then you have like, right, because you're seeing all this content with this palette, and then you're like, where's mine, where's mine, where's mine, and it's taking longer and longer, and then especially if there's a pre-order attached to it, it's just super annoying. But I do feel like there are brands that they're not coming to me off the top of my head, but I do feel like there's brands that do a good job of having, you know, at least a decent amount of stock on initial release. Actually, I would say Ensley did that with this Cold Moon palette. I feel like a lot of people were able to get it when it initially launched. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it sold out really fast. I don't remember it selling out that fast, but I feel like a lot of people were able to get it, and then it did go for pre-order. And I understand that a small indie brand can't buy that much stock, so I think it's fair as long as you have enough that you can get through at least the full launch day with people being able to buy it. I think what's frustrating for people is when it sells out in like 2.2 seconds and then they have to do a pre-order, because that just feels like, you know, we weren't even close to understanding how many people were going to buy it. And I know some brands have launches that just take off and it surprises them, but if it happens every single time, it's like you can't really be that surprised that you're going to have that many orders. So that's where I think the issue is on that piece of it. Also, I don't think I mentioned this, but I put Wolf Moon as this shade, this other shimmer shade, and I'm just wrapping it around. I was going to just do my face highlight as the inner corner, but then it ended up not being as shiny as Wolf Moon. So I'm just tapping over with that. Okay, and then the last thing that I want to chat about is pricing, but I'm just going to come back with the finished look and talk about it then. I had every intention of getting, like, dressing cute. I knew I was going to have to put my hair up because, like I said, it's a dry shampoo day, and we're gonna shower. We're doing a princess shower later, you know, gotta do my self tanner, gotta do everything. So things have to happen in a very specific order. Anywho, it's very cold here, so we just threw a sweatshirt on. And by we, I mean me. Anyways, let's talk about the last item that I wanted to talk about on this video, which is the brand's pricing. And Mia Maples actually did a recent video about Goop, and the reason I want to mention that video is because in that video she said that she hates when brands are putting out a low quality product at a high price point, and the high price tag is just convincing people that it's a luxury item when really it's not, and the quality is not there. I think a lot of people are wary of higher price points on indie brands for that kind of reason. Like, are you just putting a high price point on this to like make me think it's a luxury item? Like, and then also on the flip side of that, honestly, I feel like people worry less that mainstream brands are doing that, but I would argue more mainstream brands put high price tags on things to make you feel like you're getting a high quality product, but you're really not. And I'm not going to call anybody out, but I think there's some brands that do not have good quality and charge a high price point that are sold in like Ulta or Sephora. So, and before anybody assumes, I'm not talking Pat McGrath, okay? I know Pat has got good quality. Do we all wish there was more than pinks and golds in there? Yes. But anyways, it's a different topic for another time. But there are other brands, luxury brands, that I just don't think have it. So anyways, that being said, and the reason I also wanted to talk about pricing and have this be the last point, this brand, all of the critiques that I mentioned, a ton of other brands, especially smaller indie brands, they do a lot of these things. Not necessarily all of them. Some of them maybe do all of them. But I think this particular brand has, one, a spotlight on them, two, a lot of people talking about them because they have a high price tag as well. So I think when you have a high price tag, people are putting you under the microscope because this is people's hard-earned money that they're spending on these products, and they don't want to feel like they're being scammed or that they're not getting their money's worth, and, you know, things like that. So I recognize that. But I also think people need to, you know, when we're getting into the mob mentality on Instagram, let's just be mindful of where, like,
let's just be mindful. Like if you're buying, I honestly, even some mainstream brands are probably using AI to generate their art. If you're buying those, but because they're at a lower price tag, you're okay with it, but then this one's at a higher price tag, so you're not okay. Like, I just think we all need to be very intentional in understanding what we care about, what we don't care about, and just like make sure that we have a good understanding of that. Do you get what I mean? Because I think some people jump on the morality thing. Like, for example, I could jump on and be like, yeah, hate the packaging, blah, 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 AI, blah, 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 but it's just because I don't like the look of it. Like, that's not, am I making sense? Does that make sense? I feel like I'm trying to communicate something, but personally, I'm not a fan of AI art, so just to clarify, that's not what's happening for me, but I'm just saying, like, I could have that be my issue. So, there we go. Anyways, okay. So, the palettes, I'm gonna go through the different Moon collection palettes just because they have a consistent number of shades, and I feel like it's easier to do kind of a price assessment of that collection of palettes compared to some of their other palettes. I would love to do the Midwinter Dream one, but that palette's not listed on their site at all anymore, so can't get into the details of that. But with the palettes, so first up we have Flower Moon, right? This was the first in their Moon series. This one retailed for $69 full price. It has 21 shades. No magnetic pans, but you do have a mirror. There you go. You can see the mirror. And it's a nice quality mirror. Solid. Good. Okay. There are, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 14 shimmers, right? And we're working with 3 of these being multichromes and 11 being duochromes. Okay. So $69 includes 3 multichromes, 11 duochromes. I don't know that I side-eye personally. I don't know that I side-eye that price that much. You know what I mean? To me, I'm going, okay, I mean, $70 is kind of a lot, but I'm getting a ton of shimmer shades. And when Ensley Rain says duochromes, they are giving you duochromes. This is not a brand, I think some other brands do this where they say it's a duochrome and it's sort of like duochrome wear. There's no shift. It's just a shimmer with a different colored sparkle to it. It's not actually a duochrome. These shades shift for sure. Same with multichromes. I feel like sometimes you'll see a shadow advertised as a multichrome and you're like, I really only see 2 colors on that. These, you have to be in different lighting, but they do shift. So I'm going to give credit where credit's due. You're getting what they're describing. So that's where I personally am at on that one. Now, here's where things get a little bit questionable for me. So next we have Strawberry Moon, and this one was retailed for $76 full price. We have 21 shades again, no magnetic pan, and no mirror. Okay, so we don't have either of the, kind of bonus things, so to speak, from a packaging standpoint. Okay, 6 multichromes, 4 duochromes. So we actually have 1 less shimmer in this palette, but we have double the number of multichromes. Now on this one, I will say, let me see, which ones are the multichromes? The shifts in some of these are way less noticeable than the others. I feel like somebody once said that this is the multichrome row, but I want to argue that one of these is a multichrome, and I don't think this one is. So I think, at least, I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to try and figure that out right now. Anyways, 6 multichromes. The multichromes that are in here are some of my favorite multichromes I have, and I do have some singles, and some of these in this palette do outshine some of the singles. This is the one where personally, this is probably, I think this, I don't know. I'll talk about Harvest Moon in a second. This isn't meant to be a ranking of the brand. This one's personally my least favorite, I think. I really like the matte color story, and I think they have a really nice matte formula. And the multichromes that I can identify as multichromes, so like these 2 and these 2, are absolutely stunning shades. Like they are so gorgeous. But the rest of them, I'm like, I could maybe see some of these being duochromes. Did they say duochrome? Yeah, they say duochrome. So anyways, I just questioned that a little bit. But here's my issue. This palette is $7 more than this palette. There is no mirror. Okay. And then let me see. There's no weight on this palette, so no, God. Woo! There's no weight on this palette. But anyways, I'm so sorry. I keep just derailing this because I have so many thoughts that I want to share. This is the one that made me go, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's a little bit expensive, but I still paid it. So all that to say, obviously it's not like I consider it worth it. Otherwise I wouldn't have bought it. So that's the one that I feel a little, I don't know about. So next up, we increase in price again on Harvest Moon. This one was $88.88, which I recall being the price of the Midwinter Dream and Ensley Rain collab palette. And to me, at the time, $88.88, when you did a code, it was exactly $80. I was like, okay, it's $80. You're there, you know, there's a creator involved. I think there's some controversy around that. If you know about that, let me know in the comments. But anyways, I don't know. I feel like I've seen some people mention that, but I haven't seen anything verified, so I don't want to say it, even though I just said it. So, anyways, 21 shades in this palette. Again, no mirror, but we do have magnetic pans. So I know magnetic pans are considered a luxury item with packaging because it does cost money to get the magnetic pans. Okay. We have 5 multichromes in this palette, 3 multi-dimensional holochromes, which means they're holochrome multichromes, and 6 duochromes and shimmers. So essentially, I mean, $80 to $90 is what this palette is. If you use a code, it's $80. If you don't use a code, it's practically $90. That is expensive. You know what I mean? Like, that is, as much as I love buying, I've bought the Danessa Myricks palettes. I've bought the Izamaya palette, the industrial one. So I've paid over $100 for eyeshadow palettes. However, they do have mirrors. So I think that's a big contention for people. Some people, from what I've seen in my comments, some of you are like, if there's not a mirror, we're mad about it. And some of you go, I don't even use the mirror if there is a mirror, so it's a waste of space if you have it in there. So I think that's the piece that's questionable to me. But I just, yeah. I don't know. I just feel like, this one is harder for me than Strawberry Moon because yes, we jumped up in price again, but there's a lot of special shades in here and the holochromes are truly beautiful and I do see the multichromes too. And I can tell you, like, I can see which ones, and I feel like the shades match the description again, if that makes sense. So I don't know. So this one, I do feel like it's a little pricey, but I'm also like, I also sort of see where they're coming from. Now, last up, let's compare Cold Moon. 72.22, I think it's like 65. So we go down quite a bit on this palette, right? It's like basically $15 to $16 less than Harvest Moon. So that's a big jump. We're closer to the Flower Moon cost. We have the magnetic pan still, but no mirror. We have 4 of the multichrome holochromes, 1 multichrome, 3 duochromes, 2 sparkly shimmers, and a satin. Personally, if we lost some of the special, like there's more, technically more special formulas in this one, but I feel like that's a easier pill to swallow after you use a code, you're spending $65 on something. Now, I think there's still some people, like I said, that are going to be like, I'm not spending $65 to not get a mirror. That's fine. Okay. To me, I think that price point makes sense. And if that means they have to do fewer of the special shades and work in more of these shimmers, the shimmers are nice. Like the normal shimmers are a nice formula from them. I don't think that's bad at all. So I feel like that's something the brand could consider if they're watching this video. I wanted to break down the pricing just to share where I feel like some of the palette, like there's not consistency. There's also not consistency in the packaging on the Moon series, which sort of bugs me, but I also feel like Ensley Rain kind of has been toggling with things as they're growing and kind of found what they like, because Cold Moon and Harvest Moon are pretty similar. And so I think they're still playing around with stuff. And to me, I think a brand should have the ability to try that out, test that out. If we ever feel like a palette is overpriced and we don't want to pay that much for it, we should not pay that much for it. just don't, you know? So for me, I get the criticisms around pricing, but if a business is determining that their product is valued at that price, then it's up to the consumer to decide if they value it at that price. And then that gives feedback to the brand on if they, or the company or business, whatever, on if they want to continue pricing that way. So that's where, you know, that critique, I think, is more of a, people really want to purchase these, I think, and then, but the price point steers them away. So I think it comes up not as a, like, trying to cancel the brand because it's expensive, but more as a, I would like to try your products, but I'm not willing to spend that much money on an eyeshadow palette. Which I think, you know, is fair. We all have our choices. So anyways, that was all of the critiques. I did want to share just my personal experiences with the brand as well. So every interaction I've ever had with the owner, she's been super kind to me. She's very responsive to any questions that I have. There was a situation once where my code went down. She helped me fix it within like 15 minutes. And it's just, you know, I don't know. So I just think, I think it's helpful to bring that human element back into it because this is a small indie brand. It's owned by one person. And while we, you know, want certain things from the brand, or we have certain expectations that we would like the brand to live up to, I do think that there are people that get really nasty in some of the comments on their posts, and just remember that there's a person behind it. I think you can give criticism constructively and, you know, and say, and have concerns about the AI or any of the things that I mentioned. You can have concerns about that and bring it to them, but also when you're one of 30 people saying the exact same thing, like, I just think as a person that would get really overwhelming and really frustrating to deal with. And personally, I would appreciate a brand owner that doesn't respond, you know, if they don't have a great response, like, wait, sit on it. Wait until you have something, you know, that you're ready to say. So that's my side of it. I also feel like she engages in anything that I post with her products, and she's even engaged in posts that I don't feature a product of hers, and it's just, you know, like she saw my maternity pictures and, you know, commented on that. So I think she's just a nice person. That's really what I want to say. I think she's a nice person. So if that's something that factors into your decision making, I know if there's brands that have really unkind or shady owners, I start to steer clear of them. So to me, I think she's really kind. And lastly, and this is going to tie into, we're going to segue from here into my thoughts on this Cold Moon palette. But lastly, the quality of the shadows has always been there. And I would love to come on here and say, yeah, this expensive brand with the packaging that everybody's up in arms about, not worth it. You're not missing out, you know. I mean, it's up to you to decide if you're missing out. I don't know. But I'd love to be like that. But I truly, really like their products. And I think that's where I have to evaluate going forward. If they continue to do the AI art, I have to evaluate, you know, what that means for me in my purchasing of their products. But everything I've tried from them, I've absolutely loved. I ranked one of their palettes from last year very high in my ranking, end of year palette ranking. So it's just, it is what it is at the end of the day. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm never going to come on here and intentionally tell you something's bad when it's not, or intentionally tell you something's good when it's not. I'm giving you my full honest opinions, and it is what it is. So that being said, let's talk about Cold Moon. Hopefully that, I know there's some of you that want me to just shut up, do my makeup, and tell you if the palette's good or not. I'm sure you have all already, that fall into that camp, have already clicked out of this video. If you didn't and you're just torturing yourself, I appreciate that. I appreciate you sticking around. Here we go, talking about the Cold Moon palette. When I swatched this palette yesterday, blown away. I was blown away. And I had seen swatches of this. I had seen videos of people using it. And I thought, oh, that looks really pretty. Okay, here we go. And that's also why I was like, let me just use my store credit and get it. And then I just felt like this is the last of the Moon series and I just needed to have the whole set. But anyways, so I already saw them yesterday going, those are going to be good. I can tell. Then today, fast forward to today, we do today's look. I freaking love this. Every room in my house that I'm in, it looks different. The shadow is so shifty. The shade, what was it? Saturnalia. So shifty and beautiful. Absolutely stunning. I really like the mattes. I think they have a really nice matte formula that I feel like doesn't get, it's like we don't sing the praises of the matte formula as much because some of the shimmers are so freaking gorgeous that they overshadow the mattes a little bit. But to be honest, both the mattes and the shimmers in this, solid. Rock solid. I wish there was I wish this, I don't know if it's this shade or maybe this shade. I wish there was one shade that was a little bit more green, but that's me being so nitpicky because I wanted this to be a pink and green look or like purpley and green look. But to be honest, it's really like a gray and purple matte color story with lots of really pretty silver shimmers, pink shimmers, multi-chrome shimmers. It's beautiful. I said this already, but the one shade that's labeled as a satin, that's their softest. I'm gonna swatch it for you. I would argue, I think it's this one. Yeah. Okay, so we're looking at this one, right? We're like, okay, like that's fine. That's pretty, right? I'm pretty sure this is gonna be the satin. Yeah, this is the satin for sure. I'm gonna swatch it just so you can see what I'm talking about. That's the satin, okay? Like that is, the only other shade that could possibly be the satin is Wolf Moon, and I think this is, yeah, there's no way that's the satin. Here's Wolf Moon. I'll just swatch it right next to it. Why not? Yeah, this one's for sure the satin. It's, when you compare it to the other shade, you can see that it's not quite as sparkly. I didn't really do a great job swatching it either. It's not quite as sparkly, but it's still so high shine and metallic. That's what I mean when I say, like, their satin shades are not really satin shades. You know what I mean? So it's a really, really nice quality palette. So if you don't, you know, if any of the critiques I mentioned aren't reasons for you to not support a brand or whatever, and you like this color story, this baby is good. She's solid. Like, I 10 out of 10 would recommend, but I did want to address all of those things because I do feel, like I said, a lot of the things that I mentioned are important to people when making their purchasing decisions. So that was that. I know this video ended up being super long. Again, appreciate any of you that hung out to listen and hear the dialogue. I would love to have respectful conversations in the comments. Like I said, just because something isn't impactful to you, let's keep in mind that there's other people in the comments that might be really bothered by certain things or might be personally impacted by some of the things that I mentioned. So, you know, just try to keep it respectful. But I'm always down to have a conversation about makeup in the comments and, you know, just discuss what your thoughts are on the various things. I'd be curious for those of you that have never tried the brand, you know, is there something about the brand that's turned you off? Is it, you know, which of these is sort of your sticking point? For those of you that have tried the brand, I'd be curious if there's anything that's making you, you know, if you just still love the brand and you're just like, the quality is there and that's all I care about. And either way, I want to hear from you as I clean my hand. Anyways, so I want to hear from you in the comments down below. I hope you all have a good time, or have a good day, whatever. Had a good time with this video, and will have a good rest of your day. I will see you next time. Bye!